Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Today is the 24th of December 2025. I hope you're having a nice holiday. And yeah, today I'd like to go back to the reverse engineering of Resident Evil 4. And well, it's not really reverse engineering the game, but rather I'm just trying to pick up the development of the RE4 tweaks mod. Oh yeah, actually, I need to tweet some. Well, maybe not tweets, but I need to put on social media that I'm live at the moment, even though it probably doesn't matter that much. But 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so last time we got the build to work with the help of AI to find out the patterns that were causing the crashes with the latest version of mod utils, because the latest version of mod utils only scans the text section of the executable, which means that I think that's kind of like the instruction section of the executable and not things like data. And yeah, last time we asked AI to help us write like I forgot what it was. I think it was some kind of a wrapper function that scans the whole image, which mod utils used to do, instead of just scanning in the text section. And yeah, and then we swapped some of the functions based on where the game is crashing when we used a debugger to run the game. Although I think I accidentally lost the work that we did last time, so I asked Copilot to basically redo the thing that we did last time. So the results might look a bit different, but I think the idea is still the same. And also, I'm going to switch back and forth between using Visual Studio and VS Code. They're two different products, in case you didn't know. Just because I find the Copilot extension on VS Code to be, I don't know. I think it works better on VS Code. rather than on Visual Studio. But still, at the same time, the C++ development environment on Visual Studio Code or VS Code is not as good as Visual Studio, so I'm gonna need to go back and forth between the two, and I couldn't find a way for me to switch between the two windows easily on OBS, and I don't want to use a screen capture for the whole screen, so yeah, you're gonna have to bear with me as I switch between the windows. Okay, so yeah, let's take a look at what we have right now. Yeah, so I have replaced some of the pattern function calls from modutils to this our custom RE4T pattern function. So yeah, this is a different function in our custom namespace for RE4 tweaks, but it looks virtually the same, and this is the implementation that AI helped me write. Or well, I haven't modified anything in here, so we're gonna look into that in a second. But yeah, so that's the wrapper function, and we do have a few other calls that we updated. Okay, yeah, maybe just so that we can see what happens if so I'm just going to reset, and let's see. Okay, let's say if I stash this, so I'm back on my main branch of my fork, and yeah, just to remind you what happens if I run the game as it is with the latest version of modutils, it's going to crash immediately. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. One second. I think I need to add another window capture. Yeah. Here. So this is the error that shows up. And if I click retry, so that's going to take me sorry, I'm just making sure that you can see what I'm seeing. Yeah, that's going to take me back to Visual Studio, and we can look at the call stack to find out which pattern it was that caused the crash. So it's this debug font color array. This particular pattern, it was not found in the text section of the executable, so we need to update this with our custom function. So one second, let me change the lighting. All right. Yeah, so what is the custom function that we made with AI? So it's this whole file that I told it to create a custom header file called section patterns, which should wrap the functions from mod utils. Okay, so let's get through this from top to bottom. So this is a new namespace, I guess. RV4 tweaks, patterns, detail, and then there's a struct for section range with begin and end pointers. And we have a function, find section range, given a module and the section name. I think this is just safeguarding if you don't pass the module, or if the section name is an empty string, it's just going to give you a null pointer. I don't know if that's a null pointer or it's a null return, right? But yeah, so it's just an early check to make sure that you're passing both parameters. We can probably remove that. Then base address, using the module, we cast that to a pointer, and then the base address. Yeah, I think executables usually, Windows executables, they have like the DOS header when you try to run the program in a DOS mode. We can probably remove these if we don't need them. Yeah, so these are just checks that we can get rid of, hopefully. Image first section. That's from Windows NT. Okay. So we get the first section. And then okay, so we can find the number of sections. So okay, so we're looping through the number of sections, and yeah, so yeah, this is just getting the exact section range for the given section name, I think. Okay, that makes sense. Finding the address of those of the section that you gave it, that you gave to the function. Okay, and then there are some logging functions. It uses the spd log function. I think that's from a library that RE4 tweaks uses for logging. Okay, so log.h. Where is this from? Where can I find the Explorer? Okay. Hang on, how do I show this to you? Yeah, so it's inside includes and spd log. I believe this comes from a separate library. Let me see if I can find it. spd log. Okay, so let me show it to you. 1 second. This. So it's this library for logging. yeah, we'll see where the log ends up, but for now that's all we need to know. Okay. So there's okay. 1 second. Yeah, so this log section hit, I think it's just a helper function to put in the log where exactly the pattern is found. So this helps us keep track of patterns that are not found in the text section, and instead maybe it's in data or some other section, right? And by logging these patterns, we can then update the places where we scan for that pattern to specifically look for that pattern in the actual section instead of the whole executable. And then also log section miss when it cannot find the pattern in the specified section. Hang on, why did we lose the syntax highlight for this file? Okay, hang on. Can I just continue? 1 second. Okay, just stop debugging, please. Okay, join sections. So nah. Section name, sections, section name empty. This is just checking for empty string. Is it data? So, hang on, what is data? I think it's just joining the section names. Okay, and this is the default sections, which I assume would be the common sections you would find in executables. And we have this function try sections, pattern string, and then the section names, and then the module. If the section name is empty, again, I don't think we need this kind of defensive programming in here because we know what we're doing. Well, not really, but we expect that when you call the function, you should not pass it things like empty strings. You should always pass the actual section names. So I think this is overly defensive for what we need. So we'll probably just remove this later. And then range, we've tried to find the section range for the given section name, and I guess this is might not be needed for our use case, but it still kind of makes sense, I guess. And then section pattern, we try to make range pattern. I believe this is something that's suggested by the changes in mod utils. So if we go to, hang on, how do I go to the terminal? So if we go to external mod utils, I forgot which commit it was. Hang on, let me switch to VS Code. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, if you want to have a look at the prompts that I gave to the model, yeah, our pattern scans no longer work after the commit, the specific commit in the mod utils submodule. So I referred to that commit. I think it changed the way the patterns are scanned. It now doesn't scan the data area, and some of our patterns that we look for are in data. It would be nice to find out which ones are data and which ones aren't. And then it gave us this output, and then I asked it to look at the specific commit and tell me what it does. So the commit changes executable meta so that the default scan range is only the code section. Base of code, from base of code to base of code plus size of code. So that's the code section. Instead of the whole image, the module base of the executable plus the size of image. Up to the size of image. And it also inlines the DOS anti-header reads. Practical effect: the default hook pattern function now ignores our data or data sections and other sections, which speeds up scans and avoids a CLang crash, but any signatures that lived in data stop matching. Yeah, and use range patterns if you need to scan data. So yeah, if we just take a look at that commit, so git show, yeah, use range patterns if you need to scan data. Okay. Yeah, so some of the patterns that I scan are in data section or other sections that may be ignored, so that function no longer returns a match for some of them. What's the best way to identify those patterns, right? And to get them to match again with the latest version of mod utils. So basically it gives you a plan, and it kind of aligns with what I had in mind. Basically, we wrap the function with an implementation that either uses the old logic where it scans the whole image, or well, basically do that. Yeah, so we make our own function that makes use of mod utils functionality, but instead of just scanning the text or like the code section, we scan the whole image. But also make sure that we write some logs to figure out which so if that pattern cannot be found in the code section, we then scan the whole image, and once we found the actual section that the pattern is in, we write a log to the console saying, hey, that pattern was found in this section, right? So hopefully as we run the game, we're gonna get some output on where those patterns live, and then we can update the code that uses those patterns so that we scan for those patterns in the specific sections of the executable, not just the code section. So yeah, and then I told it that I don't want to make changes to the modutils itself. And yeah, a bunch of crap that I don't think you need to look at right now. Actually, maybe it was this one. Oh, yeah. That was before I lost the results, and this one is the latest one, but I basically did the same thing. So yeah, 1 second. Let me switch back to Visual Studio and make sure you can see it. Okay. So yeah, this make range pattern is a function from modutils, as you can see here. So after we found the section range using the find section range function from our function right here, we hang on. Yeah, so we pass the range begin and end address, and then we pass the pattern string. And then if the resulting pattern is not empty, that means we have a hit, and we return that newly found pattern, right? And this is going to loop through the section names, and if it cannot find the pattern in all of the sections that we give it, then it will return this null opt. Right, and then this is the wrapper function, the RE4T pattern function. So it returns the same type as hook pattern. So at first it tries to call the text pattern. Hang on. How does it know that text pattern is the original function? Okay, let's worry about that later. So it tries using the text pattern first, looking for the pattern in the text section, and if it finds that pattern, it just returns it. Otherwise, we get the base address of the executable, and then I guess this is if we didn't pass a list of section names, it's going to use the default kdefault sections. That's the fallback. And then yeah, otherwise it will log section miss. Not sure why we have this move fallback thing. Maybe we can ask Copilot later. So this pattern function has an overload. The first version has a second argument where you pass explicit sections to scan from, and the second version really is just the it's just calling the function from modutils. Oh yeah, so it calls the function with 2 parameters, but with an empty pattern string list. Yeah, when Copilot gave the code to me, this overload initially was put first, and I couldn't compile the code because yeah, it refers to this other definition of the function, which if it's defined after this one, that doesn't work. So I had to move it to be below this complete function. Alright, so yeah, now let's try updating this pattern that was causing the game to crash. So instead of hook colon pattern, which means that we're using the pattern function from modutils, we update this one to be re4t colon pattern. But we need to include the newly added thing. Hang on. Where was it? I think it's... So, patterns.h. Yeah, so instead of importing from patterns h, I guess we import from section patterns.h. I forgot how you include things in VS Code. Actually, I had the code stashed in my Git repo, so I'll just do that. Pop. Okay, let me undo that. Changes stash pop. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, so we update the include. Instead of including patterns.h from modutils, we use our own section patterns.h. And the other calls to pattern from modutils, they still work because we do include the patterns.h from modutils in our section patterns.h. So yeah. Okay. And so I've updated a few places. If we go to this file as well, so let's just say, for example, if I have only updated the original, this one file, right? Let me, hang on. Let me restore the changes. Oops, sorry. Git restore that. So yeah. Let's say we have only updated this single pattern to use our custom function, and then we try to run the game again and see what happens. Okay, so it still crashes, but this time the call stack should show us that the pattern is this pattern, right? So we use pattern count 1 get 0. So in this case we're like absolutely sure that the pattern is found and there's like one match, otherwise it will cause an assertion error, hence the crash. So if we look at the well, actually no, we can just stop the execution of the game. Then we update this pattern for adding the handgun silencer to use our new function RE4T pattern. And if we run the game again, okay, it's still crashing, but now it should be crashing in a different place. Okay, that's the next pattern down the list. Add 1 to price table count. Okay, this is the price table. So well, one of these at least. I mean, I guess these two patterns are related to the table, the prices table for the merchant in the game. And I guess it makes sense that these will be in the data section of the game, because it's not really a code instruction, right? It's data for the game, like guns and things, the prices of the items. Okay, so now if we stop the game again and we run it, okay, so it's still crashing, but now it should be crashing at a different place. Okay, patch reference to non-existent ST70 rel allows loading into R7XX rooms. So yeah, I think this is a tweak to allow loading into rooms that were cut from the game. And it kind of makes sense for this to not be a code pattern, because it's more about the game resource rather than code instructions. So yeah, we update this one to use our function and we rerun the game. Hey, hang on, let me, okay, yeah, you can see it. Yeah, now the game launches. It's not crashing. Nice. Hang on, let me drag the window. Oh, just as the music plays, the RE4 safe room music. Okay, hang on, so yeah, so I got the game running. There's no guarantee that it's not going to crash, because I'm not sure if all of the patterns that we look for, if the pattern scanning is only done at startup, or whether there are some pattern scans that happen as you play the game, and also maybe patterns that are only scanned if you enable specific flags in the RE4 tweaks menu.
6 years have passed since that horrendous incident.
So But yeah, at least the
It
game
was right
runs,
before I was
right?
to take on my
Actually,
duties of
let's
protecting the
try
president's
and see
daughter
what happens
when she
if
was
we
abducted.
try to play the game.
Who would have thought that my first job would have been a rescue mission?
Use this menu. Focus. Okay. So let's load this one, which should have Ashley. Okay. Seems to be working fine so far. Let's try a different chapter about this one. No. Oh, okay, so that means this chapter should have Ashley with us. Yep. Okay, I don't care.
Wait here.
Yeah, it seems to be working just fine. Okay, so I don't want to end up just playing the game. But yeah, so far it seems to be working just fine, no crashes. So let's take a look at the logs. Okay, so how do I show this to you? Secondary window, I guess. I add another window capture. Just want to make sure I'm not showing you any sensitive details. All right. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so this is the bin 3082 directory of the game, which contains the executable as well as the DLL file that we're injecting into the game. And if we open up the dinput 8.log, maybe I should just drag this into VS Code and see if we can read that from VS. Okay, we can. Nice. So let me just hide this window. Right. So, yeah, this is the logs that were output by the SPD log function. So it's loading the input DLL, starting RE4 tweaks. We got the RE4 HD project installed. So what we want to find out, so it prints the settings. So what we want to find out is this RE4T pattern in the logs. Right. So there we have it. We got the 4 of the patterns that we updated. So the first one, that is the this debug font color array pattern. So this one was found in data section, and then we have this pattern that I believe came from, is it here? No, not here. It was in no. It's here. Right. Yeah, it's for the allow selling handgun silencer. And yeah, as you can see, after we scan for those 2 patterns, we get this allow selling handgun silencer enabled log, which if we look at here, that's this line, right? So that means that these 2 patterns are found in data section. But as you can see, this pattern is only scanned if you have the allow selling handgun silencer option enabled, because otherwise we won't go to this if branch. So yeah, the pattern won't be scanned. So we need to look for other places where we scan the patterns, and it might rely on the setting, on specific settings of the tweaks. But yeah, so we found out that those patterns are in data, and the next one that we have in here, no, not here, here, for patching the reference to the unused room. This one is actually in our data section. But this one is not inside an if. So yeah, we don't need to worry about I mean, like, this pattern will get scanned no matter what, right? So yeah, now what we need to do is we need to update these calling sites to scan for the patterns in specific sections. So if we remember the signature of this function, so if it's just a single argument, then we're just passing the pattern string, and it will pass an empty array to this pattern function. And by default, it will use the k default sections, which are our data, data, p data, and I data. So that's why it was able to find the data in our data. So yeah, to speed up the scanning, I'd suppose we could make it so that in here we update the call site to use our data specifically, because we know that this pattern was found in our data. And then for the other bits, this so these ones, we know that it's in data. And then here we also know that it's in data. And here that is also in data. So now if we run the game again, it shouldn't crash, right? Yep. Okay. So, and just to show you that this actually does work and not just some AI slop, if we change this to, let's say, .r data, right? This should crash because I don't think the pattern, well, I mean, the pattern might exist there, but yeah, but we'll see what happens. If I try to run this, I think it should crash. Right, yeah, so it is crashing. And if we look at the call stack, we can see that, yeah, that's where it is. So yeah, that's because the pattern is in data, not in our data. So yeah, so I guess that works. And yeah, I guess we can remove the unneeded empty handlers, because like this kind of defensive programming is not really necessary for our use case right now. And I don't think we need these either. Hang on. ND header. Right. Yeah, I think that's just safeguarding in case the executable is not like an empty application. But for our use case, we know exactly the executable that we're working with, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. And this join sections, I'm not sure. Oh, that's just for logging. don't think we need that. Okay. That's how you join, how you append strings in C++, I guess. Put the strings data and then the size. Yeah, that's just for joining the section names. Not even sure if that's necessary. I mean, but I guess, yeah, okay, I get what it's trying to do, but I mean, I don't think we need the sections to be a list. Oh wait, yeah, I guess it does make sense if it's yeah, like the default implementation is going to go through these default sections, right? So yeah, I guess that's why it makes sense for it to be a list, to accept a list. Okay, and I don't think we need this section name empty thing. I'm not sure if this is useful. Like, this is, for example, if you try to pass a nonsense section name that doesn't exist, right? I don't think you would ever do that. Just remove that. I wonder how it knows this text pattern thing. So that's the default. It should be calling the default implementation, right? Is that what... I'm not sure what inline functions are. Actually, let's ask Copilot. Main thread. What does the inline keyword do in... Okay. Where is the text pattern? Hang on. So text pattern string. Can you explain where? Is this a shorthand for defining a variable as part of a function call? Yeah, I think so. What's going on here is that we're calling the hook pattern. Yeah. Yeah, basically it's a I think it's similar as like hook pattern text pattern equals hook pattern string, right? So this thing is like a class. Oh, it is a class. It's funny because I'm not used to seeing classes using snake case. Also, how... Hang on. Okay, pattern equals... Okay, so we're renaming the basic pattern with assert error policy as pattern. So this is basically basic pattern class. Yeah. Hang on. Direct initialization via the constructor. No, I mean, is that a shorthand for writing? Extra temporary before copy lesion. Wow, I learned something. I don't know what that is, but yeah, so that's the same thing. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I guess one thing to note is that this pattern thing, it's actually a class constructor. It's not a function, because then you can do like .count, .get with that pattern instance if found in the executable. So yeah, in this case we are getting the text pattern, and if it's empty, or like if it's not found, we return, sorry, if it's not empty, if it's found in the text section, in the code section of the executable, we're just going to return it as is. Otherwise, we would yeah, we would do our thing where we scan the whole executable, or like we scan for specific sections to get the pattern. Alright, so yeah, we eliminated some of the unnecessary defensive programming from the code, and if we rerun the executable, we should it should still work. Alright, it works. Let me just quit the game. So this is the detail namespace, and this is the RE40 namespace. Okay, that makes sense. How do you write doc strings? Is it the same as like Java doc style, or okay. Yep, that's it. I'm not sure what this move fallback thing is for. Stored inside the optional. I don't. Not sure I understand why that's needed. I mean, it's got to be something about resource allocation. Maybe. I don't know. That actually makes much more sense. I think this is just repeating that, right? So can we just do like sections? Yep. Can we reassign? This is not Python, I know, but hello, welcome. This is taking too long. Can we not just reassign it to use the default sections? I don't know. Like sections. Okay, so I guess auto and then section list. Okay. Section list. Or, sorry, sections list. And then in here we use sections list. Can we not do that? What? No. So it's an initializer list of string view, but here it's an array for. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just going to undo this and hang on. Yeah, so can we simplify this so that we unify the call to try sections by updating the variable that we passed to try sections, whether to use the past sections or the k default sections fallback. It's really slow though. Maybe I should change to a different model that is faster. Oh, it's really slow. And I cannot copy my prompt, can I? Oh. Okay, I just want to see what's happening. So can we simplify the call to array sections in can we unify instead of duplicating them? Oh, this is so slow. Ah, there it is. Wait, what? Okay. Hang on. This is really difficult to read. No, that's not it. That's not really helpful. No, okay, let's try using Claude. And Just wanna. Or actually, let's start using Copilot in VS Code because I think it just works better. Okay, let me switch back to VS Code. Wait, can you see this? Okay, all right. Yeah, so here. To simplify the calls to try sections and log section miss are duplicated based on the whether the sections list are empty. Is it possible to simplify this by changing the parameters by dynamically changing the parameter, the argument sent to try sections, whether to pass sections versus k default sections. Yeah. Okay. Operand types are incompatible. Yeah, I guess because this is an initializer list with a while the k default sections is like a fixed array. Can we just cast it somehow? I wonder. It's a bit verbose than I'd like it to be, but maybe that's just how you do it. So if section size okay. Hmm. Okay, so let me just so that didn't work because the data types are mismatched. The sections is an initializer list, while k default sections is a fixed array. Right, changing it to the following snippet, but it seems a bit verbose. Is there a simpler way to do it? Really? Can we really just do that? Oh well, yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, if we're not passing an empty sections list, we just use that. Otherwise, we use the k default sections. Oh, but can we not put this into a variable? Like section to use? And then we do like sections to use. Yeah. I feel like I don't get why the AI has to be so verbose and like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not perfect, but I would have expected it to do better. So here we just does this work? Ah. What about this? Okay, so that works. But we can't... We basically cannot use the same variable for both the parameter, or like the argument, and the default. Okay. Actually, I'll just do it myself. Oh, sorry, I've been showing you VS Code the whole time. Yeah, so let me just rename this to has sections. Or like... Alright, whatever. Let's just call it that. And let me switch back to Visual Studio. Okay, yeah, so this should work. I'm just thinking whether we should, you know, in this case, even if we know the specific sections, it's still going to look for the pattern in the text section, which is not ideal. So sections size. But yeah, we also want to be able to swap between the two. Okay, whatever. I guess if the goal is to switch to this wrapper for all of the pattern calls, then yeah, I guess it makes sense to keep it this way. But otherwise, we can just make it so that, let's say, if you don't pass it, then you do this. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise you look for these specific sections. Actually, I think we should just do that in this single single argument version. Okay. This is not ideal because this means if you hang on. Yeah, I guess this only happens if you cannot find the pattern at all. But yeah, it will end up rescanning the pattern in the text area, in the text section, even though we know for sure that it doesn't exist. Can we just maybe throw? Okay, whatever. So yeah, if we already know the section in hand, we can skip scanning the text section entirely. I think it makes sense. Okay, so if I run this, it should still work, I think. Alright. Hang on. Right, anyway. So let me just go back. Or actually I can just Alt F4. Right? Wait. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that works. So we're good. But now we need to find out all the places where we call what is it? Hook pattern. And see if any of these are inside an inside a conditional that requires specific options to be enabled, just in case we missed any patterns that might cause the game to crash. But yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll do that, and then I'll update my PR, and I guess that'll be it for today. But yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, I'm back. Okay, where was I? So yeah, we need to look up the usage of the pattern class inside RE4 tweaks and see if any of these are inside if conditionals that might not be enabled in my current setup. So I think, yeah, we need to find instances where we check for the config. And then where it does a pattern scan. Okay, there's a lot. But I don't think any of them in this file does any pattern scanning. Yeah, because this file is just frame rate fixes. Okay, so what I want to find out is pattern. So aspect ratio. So let's see. So this is my current settings. So hook pattern. Okay, so it's immediately called, I believe. So the ones in aspect ratio tweaks are all inside the init function, which means it should be immediately called, and it's not inside any if conditionals. So yeah, I guess they are all in the text section, so we're good. There's a lot of them though. And I hate that it's not grouped by the files, unlike VS Code. Like, I think I'm just going to use VS Code for this. I'm not familiar with VS at all to be able to do this effectively. So, hook, pattern, audio tweaks. Wait, why is it? What? What is this thing? Hang on. What? No. I did not change that. I think I still have like changes from my previous AI usage for some reason. Okay, so audio tweaks. This is an init function and it's all directly here, and they're not inside if conditionals, so I think we're good. Camera tweaks, same. Camera improvements, I guess we should look for that as well. Okay, we have that enabled, so if any of these patterns are not are not in the text section, the game would have crashed. So I think we're good. So those are done, and then command line. I guess this is part of the tweaks menu, the tweaks window thing. It is inside the conditional, but it's not based on settings of or like the tweaks config. So I think, again, if any of these patterns are not in the text section, it would have crashed the game. Or I guess it might have been, it's command line options. If you do like re4.exe and then you pass some command line options. I don't know what the options are though. Yeah. Okay, so actually let's try that and see what happens. So can I pass parameters? Oh, I accidentally launched the game. Hang on. So load 1. Ah, nice. Okay, yeah, so that works. Okay, so I believe none of these were broken, I hope. Okay, these are like the game console redirecting the outputs. Okay. Yeah, I think I think this is safe. It should be in the code, in the text section. Controller tweaks. This is also an init function. Remove extra X input dead zone. Okay, I guess that's something we need to check. Dead zone. Okay, it's enabled, so I guess we're good. Okay, I think we're good. Smooth analog turning. Okay. Maybe we need to enable that. Although I'm not using a controller, so I don't really know. Maybe I need to... I need to pick up my controller and see what happens. D3D hook. I would be surprised if that's not in the text section. Debug display. Yep. Not in config. Fix display mode. Okay. That's enabled. Multi-thread fix. It's enabled. Replace frame limiter. Okay, that's enabled. Okay, these filter pointers might be in the data, but I doubt it. Okay, that's already enabled. Frame rate fixes. Oh no. What happened? Why did it delete? Can I just discard all this AI changes? What is going on with this crap? I should have committed. Okay, I think we're good. Raise vertex alloc. I believe that's enabled. Okay. Okay, the smaller action prompts. Let's try to enable as many settings as we can. Oh, hello, final boss, Callie. I work for a company called Torchbox, but it's not related to anything that I'm doing currently. So, yeah. Keyboard and mouse tweaks. Maybe I should just enable everything and see what crashes. Alright, let's enable everything and see what happens. Alright, we get a crash. That's a good sign. Okay. NTSC strings, that makes sense. The strings, I guess they would have been in the data pattern, in the data section. So let's use our function and launch the game again. Okay, it works. So far. Nice. Oh, why is it so sensitive to... Oh wow, it's running at 300 FPS. Okay, F3. I wonder why it's actually running at a much lower FPS now. Huh. Okay. But yeah, we found one extra pattern that has to be somewhere that's not in the text section. So let's look at the logs. Okay, that's match in data. That's, yep. Okay. Hang on, why is it not responding to my input? Okay. Oh, I thought I saved it. I'm just curious if we can run the game at like uncapped frame rate, and whether the thing that's causing the low frame rate is the Vulkan renderer. So let me just why is it not responding to my inputs again? Okay. All right. We get an error. Yeah, this seems to be running much faster now. So, okay. Oh yeah, I think there's a bug with the audio. I wonder why the Vulkan renderer causes it to run at like very low frame rates. I thought it would perform better. Now seems to be way less. And the inputs are like processed multiple times, like one press causes it to be registered twice. just going to close this and... Oh, I should have checked whether that error was caused by a pattern. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Looks like it's not. I don't think. It's not because it couldn't find a pattern. It happens when it's logging, so I think we're good. Okay. So I'm just going to undo our changes. Hang on. Why is my VS Code hanging? Wait, what? I can't click on anything else, like... Okay. Never mind, it works now. Okay. Yep. Oops. Yeah, so let's undo all those settings changes. I guess those settings are fine. So the game seems to work just fine, and we found a few patterns that are not in the text section, so I think we can commit our changes now. Tools, command line terminal. Maybe update the section patterns to have more comments. Maybe not. I guess it's fine. Okay. So, yep. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna commit add wrapper function to scan in non-code sections. Actually, to scan patterns. Okay, then push to. Wait, what's. Oh, yeah. All right. And here. Alright, now let's add a comment to let emus know about this. Thanks, emus. I added a commit that. Oops, what is happening here? Oh, yeah. Yes, GitHub Actions still doesn't support Visual Studio 2022. Sorry, 2026. Yep. So we need to update the platform toolset. Hang on. Wait, no, I am using version 143, not 145, right? Wait, why? Is that being ignored? Why doesn't that change anything? Well, I don't understand. Let's change it from VS Code. This might be cursed, but just want to change it. So it should be here. And what is the number again? Should be 143. Hang on, which commit did that? Was that change? Do I not have gitlabs here? Okay. Yeah, that. I think. Oh, that makes sense. When I switch to the like smart utils. Okay. Alright, let's just do this. And I'm gonna drop that. And we push. Okay, that should work. I added a commit that, okay, I added a commit that okay, I pushed a commit that as a wrapper function that scans, that uses mod utils default scanning logic. By default, while also allowing you to with fallback to scanning specific sections. If it cannot find a pattern in the text section, you can also, as well as logging the sections that where the pattern is. You can also pass it a specific other section so that it scans those patterns. That pattern directly. I found that. Okay, where are those? So I found these patterns are in data. So that's gameplay. Okay. And then misc. that. This one. And this one is in our data. And tool menu. I used AI to generate the function, the selection patterns. And did a quick review to with my limited knowledge. So I'm sure it can use some improvements. I'm not sure. Right, enabling all the options in the config to surface those patterns, but there might be more that I missed. I also tried looked into cause and threat. They might be, especially if they are only if the scanning only happens while the game is running and with specific settings. Okay. Still learning all this stuff. The very basics of thanks again. I'm hoping we can bring more updates to this mod, as I think the community is still alive for this game. Well, that's pretty obvious, right? So there's I think people are still interested. There are still quite a lot of people interested. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention, the game seems to be running fine with these. But the seems to be okay. All right. Yeah. Now let's hope Emus or someone else gets back and review the PR and get it merged somehow. And I haven't looked into the flags, but I replaced this PR on top of. Makes sense. I'm not a maintainer though, so can't merge your PR. Just thought I leave a comment to report my testing. That's it. Alright, I think I'm done. I've been streaming for almost 3 hours. Wow. But yeah, I think we made good progress. We made the game to work with the latest version of modules, and we found a few patterns that are not actually code patterns, and they are data and our data patterns. So yeah, and it seems that the AI generated code works just fine for the most part, so I think we're good. Alright, that's it then. I'm going to end the stream here, and maybe I'll see you next time with something else. I don't know, I might look into a bit more reverse engineering stuff, but I also don't want to waste your time with me just reading stuff and not doing much really. And I think I might be able to learn faster if I don't have to explain what I'm thinking. So yeah, if I'm back with some reverse engineering stuff again, I might have something specific in mind to work on. Otherwise, I might just play video games. I'm not sure what to play though. I'm gonna go on holidays in the coming weeks, and I'll be back sometime in the 3rd week of January. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to start playing anything that needs like 10 streams to finish or something. But yeah, this has been fun though. I think I would like to go back to VS, and then yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here. Thanks for watching, thanks for joining. Thank you Final Boss Kali for the follow, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks and see you. Bye bye.